Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chris Lee Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course we give you insight into what it all means. Joining us as always is our AMC Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us a part of your Monday.
We also have joining us AMC's Christian Harloff.
I love the energy, but do you have Deadpool socks on?
No, I don't.
We also have joining us the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened, Mr. John Schnapp?
Hey, I don't have Deadpool socks, but what do I smell Dunkin' Donuts in the house. Someone brought Dunkin' Donuts, Grizzly and Stephanie!
All right, guys. Well, we're all excited because last week it was confirmed that a Deadpool movie is coming, and the question most fans had was it going to be rated R or PG-13? Well, according to tweets from several people close to the production and several reports online, Fox is indeed targeting a PG-13 rating for the Merc with a Mouth. Deadpool is set to hit AMC theaters in February 2016, I believe, if that's right, John. John, is this cause for concern?
No, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week on Movie Talk, and I talked about it on Mailbag this weekend as well. Is it unfortunate? Yeah. Like I think all of us at this table would say, if we were in charge of Fox and we were making a Deadpool movie, we would make it rated R. Yes, absolutely, that's the way we would do it. But is it a cause for concern? No, not really. For a number of reasons. Number one of my actual favorite incarnations of Deadpool in the comics was in the Uncanny X-Force stuff. And really, if you read through that, that's pretty PG-13, sure. And that's one of the best renditions of Deadpool we've ever seen. Would I still make it R? Yes, but as a part of critical thinking, one of the things we always have to do is try to step back and say, okay, I would do this, but I can understand. Do I want the Fantastic Four babies? No. But if I step back, hey, they got a great screenwriter, they got a great director, they've put a great cast together. Okay, yeah. I mean, we need to do stuff like that. And if we're looking at Fox and saying, how can you do it PG-13? Well, let's put it this way. Here's a list of the last non-R-rated comic book films that have come out and what they've done domestically at the box office. Guardians of the Galaxy has made $313 million, PG-13. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 PG-13 made $202 million. X-Men Days of Future Past, a PG-13 film, made $233 million. Captain America 2 made $259 million. Thor 2 made $206. Man of Steel made $291. The Wolverine made the least out of them, but made $132 million. And Iron Man 3 made $409 million. That's the last number of PG-13 R-rated or non-R-rated films that have come out. Now let's look at the R-rated comic book-based films that have come out recently, and the most recent at any rate. Dread was a rated R comic book-based film, made $13 million. Punisher Warzone, which I actually really like. Punisher Warzone made $8 million. Kick-Ass 2 made $28 million. And The Watchmen made $107, by far the highest of any R-rated comic book film of all time. So while we can have our concerns and criticisms, and we've talked ad nauseum about why, hey, look, not all is lost just because they do Deadpool, rated PG-13. But even if you're somebody who's still really against that, at least step back and say, okay, while all those R-rated films I mentioned have some extenuating circumstances attached to them, you can't deny that if you're Fox, you got to look at that and see maybe a little bit of a pattern, be concerned, and you can understand why they want to go PG-13. Because Deadpool's not just a real fun movie they can do. You do a Deadpool right, make it really funny, really engaging, take PG-13 to the edge of where you can take it, and we've seen that edge is getting further and further. Right. This is a franchise that could make Fox a lot of money. And you can kind of understand why they look at numbers like these and go, let's go PG-13. I'd still make it R, but there you go. Anyway, Christian, we know now that they're going PG-13. Your thoughts?
Do we know 100% that they're going PG-13? I know that people have talked about it, and even on a few people that are on my team have said the same thing, but I don't know if I necessarily believe it all the way through. Have they said definite? Is definite PG-13?
Well, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up because I should have said that myself. It's like these reports and these, like, I think it was Liefeld was tweeting that, hey, PG-13, before coming out of the studio, that it's once they got to the point where they're like, hey, we can make this PG-13 and still keep the essence of what this character is, that's when they greenlit it. But you raise a great point. Nobody from Fox has stood up yet on a pedestal and said we're doing a PG-13. But I really believe that's where they're going.
As do I. And I think they will wind up getting PG-13, but until they say
Hold out that little bit of hope.
Because do I think that it's a deal breaker? No. I think that the movie can absolutely succeed at PG-13. And all the examples that you just gave in regards to the money that Captain America, Winter Soldier, and all this. Yes, if you're a studio executive, you're going, maybe PG-13, stay with what the fans want, push the limits, let's do it, and let's still get those teenagers in there, and let's be able to get our money. And I understand the thinking there. But and we said it last week, I want to see them have the balls to do it. I want to see them to say, look, this is what Deadpool is. Let's go to the extreme, because there were a lot of different reasons, as you said, it was Kick-Ass 2 and a lot of the movies, maybe why they didn't succeed, and the way that this one...
Lots of extenuating circumstances.
Yes, this one can do that, because I think that if they... look what The Matrix did not for superhero movies, but in general for that R-rated action film. That back then, people would be like, oh, that's risky, and it was the most profitable R-rated movie of the time. So I think that you can do it and knock it out of the park and then start new ones, because what I'd like to see happen is that they do an R-rated version, and then Marvel, who has Punisher now, goes, okay, we can do rated R. This worked. Deadpool worked. Let's do our version of rated R, because I feel now that the Punisher's back with Marvel, they're going to go PG-13 with it, and that won't work. So I'm hoping, praying that it'll be rated R.
Snap.
I think they're going to double dip. That's what I would do if I was Fox. I would release an R-rated version and a PG-13 version at the same time in the theaters.
Except, we talked about this in Mailbag. Theaters aren't going to give you double the amount of screens just so you can put out an R and a PG film.
They don't have to.
Yeah.
Like normally theaters now, like Guardians of the Galaxy is playing in 3 theaters.
Yeah.
They could do the same exact thing with Deadpool. They could do PG-13, PG-13R. And all you have to do with the PG-13s is bleep out all the swear words and digitally remove the blood. Or digitally add the blood and unbleep everything. And you have 2 movies. You have what the people who want an R-rated movie, they get what they want. And PG-13 allows all the rest of the people to kind of enjoy the truncated version.
Ups the budget, though, doesn't it, in regards to, like...
It's minuscule.
Editing and stuff,
$5
too?
grand.
Really?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, somebody just, like, bleeping stuff out, that's, like...
No, but not just that. I mean, because you might have to cut out certain parts of violence, and you bring in a new editing team, and I mean...
I think Snap's right, though. I think even if it's like, let's say it adds an extra $4 million.
Yeah.
Even $4 million.
Yeah.
$4 million is kind of an insignificant thing. But the reason I don't think they'd ever do that is because, I mean, these people have a lot of smart people that work for them as well. And I think if they thought there was any way that could make them more money, I think they'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, greed drives this whole industry, and sometimes greed is very, very good.
Or just save the double dip for the, aftermarket. Like,
I think we're
going to
see aftermarket stuff.
I would rather see a Deadpool PG-13 that's like half of his dialogue is bleeped, because that's funny to me anyway. And then if you want the unedited version, you can watch that at home.
You know what'd be really hilarious? I was talking, I think it was Ann that said it, because we were talking about the Deadpool thing and the whole concept that has been brought around that if he swears a lot, just beep him. And Ann had this idea, because he's so conscious of the fourth wall and everything, what if he carried around his own beeper and he hits his own beep buttons when he talks? That would be
when he breaks the fourth wall, he has that one F-bomb for PG-13. He should say it right to the camera.
Yeah.
Or they begin the movie just with it.
I think you
Bam,
can go 2 now. I think you can actually drop 2 now.
Really?
But yeah, whatever. All right, what's next?
Christian, are your socks PG-13 or are they rated R? That's the most
they're
important
cleaning up their
question.
PG-13 right now.
His boxers, however.
Oh, it's
Different
rated
story.
R.
Different year.
All right, guys, the sequel to the surprise hit film Magic Mike, titled Magic Mike XXL, is slated to open in AMC theaters on July 1st, 2015, and a few bits of casting news has been confirmed. First of all, Matthew McConaughey will not be returning for the sequel, but actresses Andy McDowell and Amber Heard have joined the cast. Christian, how big of a loss is McConaughey, and how much does the addition of McDowell and Heard make up for it?
Well, starting with the actress, I don't know if it really makes up for it, but anytime you lose someone of McConaughey's stature, it's always a little bit of a loss for sure. I mean, the guy, especially on the hot streak he's on. But does it kill the movie? No. He's in the movie, the first one, for a fair amount, but it's not his story. It's Channing Tatum's story. When McConaughey was on screen in that movie, a lot of fun. He was great, and he had some great moments. But you can move on to somebody else and have a new character. And these two, both Andy McDowell and Amber Heard. Look, Amber Heard is fantastic to look at. Do I think she's the best actress in the world? Probably not. But she's still fun when she's in there, and I'd like to see her do something that maybe she steps up. She's got to be better than the girl that was the lead last time.
Olivia Munn.
No, it wasn't Munn. It was
the
Horn.
love interest.
Horn, she's just not great. But That being said, I think that it's cool. I want to see where this story goes, and not unlike what you were just saying before. If we have the right script, I don't even think Soderbergh's directing this one. I think he's just producing.
No, he's not. Yeah.
It's got some hurdles to get over, this one, but I don't think this neither makes or breaks what's going on with it.
I think the loss of McConaughey here is a huge loss if you look at it in terms of not from, is it a step backwards from where the last film was? Because I agree with you, his presence was actually modest in that film. Is a huge loss in terms of how much gravitas now that McConaughey is who he is.
Right.
Had he appeared in this movie now, how much loss of that gravitas and whatever is there between what could have been and what will be? That's big. But I agree with you completely. It's not much of a step back from the last one because he's not the main character in the film.
Right. Well, you're also saying that, but don't forget also that Channing Tatum is coming out with Foxcatcher. He's also big up to it.
Yeah.
So his gravitas is not something that's
his star is rising right now too.
Yeah.
As far as Andy McDowell and Amber Heard, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit about Amber Heard. I actually find her to be a very serviceable actress. I've really liked her. I thought she's been fun in a number of the films, the bad films I've seen her in, and she is. Look, I've been in a room with her on a number of occasions. She is just one of the sexiest women alive. She just oozes sexiness, but at the same time, kind of a grounded, down to earth kind of the same time. I really like her. Andy McDowell, I will always be a fan of. Always. Nothing she could do will ever make me change the fact that I'm a fan of hers. So I believe that these two additions, kind of, the new hot trend with a proven star. I think that makes up a bit for the
from Soderbergh's very first movie, Sex, Lies, and
exactly,
Videotape. I love Andy McDowell too. I think Amber Heard is great. I just also heard this morning that Jada Pinkett Smith got added.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, as a strip club owner.
Yeah, so she's a role originally written for a man.
For a guy. Yeah.
So I think that. So all three of those ladies are great actresses.
She'll actually be playing a guy.
Look,
no, she's not.
I have not seen Magic Mike, the first one, so I might see this one. But you know what, Soderbergh, he's not directing it, but he is the cinematographer and he's editing it. How weird is that?
I didn't know he was editing it.
Yeah.
He's the one who's directing
Yes.
it, and he's been Soderbergh's right hand forever.
So it's sort of like he's like, look, man, you could direct this, but I'll be right next to you the entire time.
Right,
Like I'm shooting it and I'll be editing it, and I think you should do that. That's kind of like. It's still going to be Soderbergh's film in a certain sense.
Cool.
And I'm sure Greg is going to be like, look, step back and let me direct. There'll be a little bit of fun going on there. But yeah, I think I'll see the second one.
I've seen Magic Mike more times than I care to admit because the day the Blu-ray came out, Ann bought it. And for a couple of weeks, every time I came home, she and some other friends would be sitting in the living room, just sitting there like this, watching Magic Mike. So yeah, there it is. It's on my TV. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy and sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So Chris Lee, what do we got?
A brand new Red Band trailer for The Interview came online this weekend. The film is described as follows. Dave Skylark, played by James Franco, and his producer, Aaron Rappaport, played by Seth Rogen, run the popular celebrity tabloid TV show Skylark Tonight. When they discover that North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un is a fan of the show, they land an interview with him in an attempt to legitimize themselves as journalists. As Dave and Aaron prepare to travel to North Korea, their plans change when the CIA recruits them to assassinate Kim Jong-un. The Interview opens in AMC theaters on Christmas Day. Jeanette, buy or sell this new trailer for The Interview?
I totally buy this. I was laughing out loud. I saw it this morning. I was laughing probably about 30 seconds after the trailer was over. It's so funny. And I think when Kim Jong-un sees this, he's going to love it. I actually think that whatever North Korea is saying right now, when the movie actually is screened for them, Kim Jong-un is going to be like, I love this movie. He's going to be hugging it out with Rogan. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. That's what's going to happen.
Dennis Rodman?
Yeah, no bombs. Dennis Rodman will be there. No, there's no bombs. There's no threats. All that's going to be gone. Everyone's going to have a party.
A new era of peace ushered into the
Yeah.
world.
It's like Bill and Ted.
It could actually happen because that's how funny I think this film is going to be. I literally, from the beginning of this second trailer, I could not stop laughing, and it just goes all the way full on. I mean, I loved it.
Christian?
I buy it, not as hard as Schnepp does, but only because, look, if this is the end when the Red Band trailer came out, I said, all right, this looks like the same kind of poop fart humor that and then I loved it. I loved that movie. It was one of my favorite comedies of the year.
The end was hilarious.
It was hilarious. I love that movie. So it has not changed my need to see this movie. I really want to see it. But and I also like how we switched from Neighbors, what it seems like in this movie. Seth Rogen's going more of the straight man role, again, being the responsible one. I like that he's doing that, as where Franco this time is the one who's the off the wall.
Well, they did that. They did that too in Pineapple Express.
Yeah,
they did do that.
thing,
You're right. You're right. So to go back to that is cool. And I just wonder, some of the jokes, even though a lot of them were funny in the trailer, I felt like Franco was forcing it a little bit. And going to see the movie, I could go and go, boy, was I wrong. He nailed every part of it. But for this trailer, I liked it. I just didn't love it.
I got to buy it too. And the funny thing is, this is so paint by the numbers Rogen and Franco, but it works. It's just, like you said, it's this is the end, but it's the exact same thing, except just change the end of the world scenario, insert, have to assassinate the leader of Kim Jong-un scenario, and there it goes. And yet, I laughed my ass off watching the trailer. So it's going to be the exact same thing, but I'm almost at that point now with these. At some point, I'll get tired of it. Right. But right now, I'm still finding it really, really funny.
You know what? It's also
this Martin and Lewis at their heyday.
Well, I was going to say, it's 2014's version of Spies Like Us. It feels like Spies Like Us, even at the end with a different version of what you can get away with now with the missile at the very end. And I'm going, I feel like I'm watching what Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase could have done now with pushing the limits. So I'm excited for the movie.
All right, what's next?
As many of you remember, Lionsgate is developing a new Power Rangers film. However, they just hit a setback. According to reports, executive producer Roberto Orci, who is spearheading the film, has left the project. The official reason being given for his departure is scheduling conflicts with his upcoming films, Star Trek 3. John, buy or sell that Orci's departure will hurt the new Power Rangers film?
Well, I buy it in the sense that no matter who it is, whenever you lose the one leading the charge, it's a setback. I mean, sure, but this isn't Macbeth, folks. It's Power Rangers. I'm sure they can recover from Roberto, but sure, it's a bit of setback. What I sell here is this reason of scheduling conflicts because he's directing Star Trek 3. Did he just find that out? Right. He's known he's directing Star Trek 3 for a long time. So don't tell me, we just realized because remember they did the same thing with dude from Sons of Anarchy.
Charlie Hunnam?
When Charlie Hunnam left 50 Shades of Grey, at first it came out, it's the scheduling conflicts. These guys know every lunch they're having for the next 3 years. Right. And he knew his schedule when he signed up for this. And then, of course, it came out that it was actually a whole bunch of other crap that made him step away from it. Right. I don't buy this that it's a scheduling conflict. But maybe it's something way more innocent than a scheduling conflict. Who knows what it is? Doesn't matter. So I buy that it's going to hurt the project a little bit, but they'll get over it. But I sell the reason giving completely. Schnepp, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to sell the reasoning too. I think he's just trying to escape the stink of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and anything he's like, look, Star Trek is the thing to concentrate on. If anything, that's going to elevate his name. He's directing it as well as writing it and producing it. So, Power Rangers, that's a property and a franchise that's going to need something really fantastic to push it into the new world that we live in now. It's all we have is those pictures. Right. Of everybody in spandex jumping around. And literally, that's what's going on. I mean, it's a giant sell at conventions. They have all the Power Rangers from all the different seasons. There's sweaties lined up to get their helmet signed. So it's alive and well. I mean, people love the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and they're waiting for this. Whatever this new reboot's going to be, I don't know if it needs to be the guys in spandex jumping around or if it needs to be a brand new take. It's hard to tell, but Orci's not going to be involved in it. So.
I'll also sell the reasoning behind it, although playing devil's advocate is that we talked about it last week, whether or not they even knew when the production was going to come from Star Trek, and now from the report that now it's happening in 6 months. So maybe that was legit. Maybe they didn't know it was going to start in the 6 month time. And he said, this is a possibility this could happen. Just be aware of it. And then they said, okay, fine, we'll cross that bridge. And now the bridge is here. It's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. What I'm worried about is the handling of the movie, because from what I hear is that writer of Chronicle,
Max Landis.
Max Landis was on this at first, and then his version was dark, going down a direction, and then Fox was like, let's go somewhere else, and then they went. Now with this guy.
But now they get X-Men Days of Future Past, not X-Men First Class writers penning the script with it. So that's kind of a win for them.
Absolutely. But the question is, now they're bringing in people, now it's losing people left and right. It's just a matter. the more and more, this is not my generation, not my show, but the more and more I hear fans getting excited about it and the possibilities of it. Look, I'm a Flash Gordon fan. I want to see what they do in a serious tone, a more serious, less campy version of Flash Gordon. So I think the fans have every right to want to see a serious version of this, and if we lose this guy and bring someone else in, so be it.
All right, what's next?
The new film, The Maze Runner, opened in AMC theaters this weekend and took the #1 spot at the box office, making over $32.5 million domestically and just over $81 million worldwide on a $34 million budget. Good enough to put a sequel to the film into development. Christian, buy or sell the results for The Maze Runner?
I'll buy the results, and the reason why is because unlike, say, The Hunger Games or even Twilight, this didn't have that kind of marketing campaign.
No, it did
at
not.
all.
No.
So it just kind of came out, and fans of the book obviously were excited to see it, and I think that the fans of the book probably had a big deal to do with some of that box office. But this was a movie that came in for the budget and what it did, not big star power at all, and did really well. So that Fox should be saying, oh, is it Fox? Yeah. Fox?
Oh, gosh.
I believe it's Fox.
I think it's Fox, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's Fox. It was Fox.
Conglomerate.
It's Fox. So Fox saying, okay, if this movie hits this amount of money in this theaters, we'll greenlight the sequel. And the movie's clearly set up for a sequel. I won't share all my thoughts on the movie, but I'll say that I think that people could have been tween fatigued, and the fact that this had this type of number, yeah, I understand why the results.
Schnepp?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to buy it. I haven't seen the film yet, but from everything I've heard, it's sort of like Lord of the Flies meets Logan's Run. Like
Yeah, it meets Lost, too.
With kids.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you guys liked it. Those like got a lot of good action in it.
It sets it up for the first. If you don't know this movie, I thought for the first hour, it really hooks you into where you could be skeptical. It hooks you in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it too because I was telling these guys before the thing started, I went into it expecting it. I didn't see the fairly positive reviews for it coming. I didn't see those at all. So I went in thinking this is just going to be a big load of crap. And I walked out going, you know what, that's not bad. It had some upside. My biggest problem with the film is how desperately it screams, we want to be a franchise, but I'll go into that at another time. But I'm very happy for them. You know what? It was a pretty decent little marketing campaign. They did a nice little job. Did they put the money behind it that a Hunger Games does? Right. Absolutely not, and it didn't get anywhere near Hunger Games numbers. But for this time of year, and considering it's going up against a Liam Neeson film coming out, it trounced that. Yeah. This is pretty good results. All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're going to try to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take some live questions as well. So if you're watching live, tweet in some questions to @AMC Movie News, and we'll try to get a couple of those at the end. But for now, let's get to the mailbags. Chrisley, what do you got?
Josh Katz Curtis writes, "Hi, movie talkers. I love the show and watch every episode. My question is regarding a Cabin in the Woods sequel. I read online that Joss Whedon wanted to return to that world. Is there a sequel in the works? Also, how would you build off that ending? Would it have to be a prequel? Thanks for all you do for us movie fans, and bring on the filthy."
Way back in 2012, Joss Whedon said, yeah, we got some ideas for a sequel, but that's pretty much about it. I mean, the movie didn't do great. It did okay. And I'm a big Joss Whedon fan, but I gotta tell you, I'm not as taken with Cabin in the Woods as a lot of people are. I actually thought the ending was kind of dumb. And I know a lot of people who are way smarter than me that loved it and loved the ending, and fair enough, all that kind of stuff. All I can say is that my experience wasn't quite as positive. So as far as I know, there's no plans for it. Have you guys heard anything different?
No, I haven't heard anything different except that one comment, but I'm one of those people who loved it. I thought that
you're not alone, man. A lot of smarter people than me loved it.
I loved the movie because I was going into expecting just a horror film, and this movie, if you go, this is not a horror film at all. It really is not. It's a play off the horror genre, and for what they did with this, I don't think it should be a sequel. I think it's a one and done. Or if you want to spin it off into like other characters that just maybe were connected to it in one way, fine. But I like it as it is. You don't need to continue it all. One and done was fine for me. I loved it.
Yeah, I also loved it, and especially if you've seen the movie. Just the opening and the way they introduce even the credits, it's a classic, it's a comedy film. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm smarter than you, I just happen to enjoy it and I love the film. But I agree, there should be no sequels. I don't think it's made to be a sequel film. It's actually a loving homage to all horror films that take place in a cabin in the woods. Right. That's what it's about. It doesn't need a sequel. It's silly to even think about a sequel. But if you were gonna make a sequel, I would go see it. If it was took place at the same running time as the first film, and everything happened at the end.
Yeah,
you could follow a lowly, mail delivery guy,
Right, and
or
his
like,
adventure and how it spins back to the end.
or who's feeding all the creatures in the little
that
cages.
could be cool.
I mean, there's a million things. That's some slash fiction that y'all should be writing, is what I'd say. I don't think it doesn't need a sequel.
All right, what's next?
Goku-san writes, "Hey AMC movie crew, my question is the following. Given the current superhero climate, do you think we could ever see a reboot of The Shadow? I realize that the Baldwin film wasn't great, but as a kid I thought the character was interesting. Or do you think that no studio would be willing to take a chance on it or any other non-Marvel or DC Comics based property because they don't have the massive brand recognition as these two companies do?"
Bite your tongue that the original Shadow wasn't great. That was one of my guilty pleasure movies, man. I love the Alec Baldwin, The Shadow. I ate that film up. I loved it. I had so much fun with it. It was ridiculous and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
That scene alone is great on the bridge.
Yeah. So wait a minute. So this darkness comes over you and your nose gets a little bit bigger. It's so ridiculous, but I love that movie. And I'm going to say yes. I do believe at some point somebody will take a shot at remaking this. I think for the very reason that you were mentioning, because it's not a Marvel or a DC property. And I think there's room there for somebody to come out and try something like this. It does have some name recognition. You can build off what you did before. Clearly reboot it. Don't make it a part 2.
Right.
Don't have Alec Baldwin handing over the hat to the next generation.
Or the little dagger.
I love that, I loved it. Anyway.
It's possible for sure, and just echoing what you just said, that you're going to come to a place where the superhero genre is not going away anytime soon. Right. So the studios are going to look, they have everything. What can we get? Well, nobody's doing The Shadow. All right. That's really what it could come down to, so it's possible.
Well, I mean, you know what's weird, though? I mean, I liked The Shadow. There was some really great scenes and some kind of dull scenes for me, but look, The Shadow inspired Batman. Sam Raimi is dying to make The Shadow. That's who he keeps trying to do that. It's so untapped, that character. It could be incredible if you just do it right. That's why everybody's sweating over Doc Savage, and there's all these pulp figures and heroes that are just waiting to be monetized into film money. I mean, it's crazy that people just because it's not Marvel or DC, there's millions of characters. Don't forget about Image and Boom, and I mean, there's all these other comic book companies right now that have incredible series that would just make amazing television series or movies. So, I mean, The Shadow is one of the firsts. I'd love to see it.
How about a Darkman reboot?
Yeah, I'd be down for Darkman.
Or Blank Man.
Well, hang on a second.
Darkman reboot. Give me the elephant.
I want an Automan. Do you guys remember Automan?
Yeah, the Tron car.
I want Automan brought in. That would be pretty cool. Okay, folks, we said we leave just a couple minutes. We do have just a couple minutes, so we have time for a couple of quick Twitter questions. So, Chrisley, what have you picked out?
All right. Our Twitter feed's blowing up with this, but I'm going to take the one from Jake Rinsler, who wants to know, since Deadpool is confirmed, will we see Ryan Reynolds return?
I mean, it's expected. Let's be clear, he has not signed on yet, but it is completely expected that he will. I mean, he's really been the guy leading the charge trying to get this thing done, so I can't imagine he doesn't want to do it. I think the only reason they haven't announced it as officially is probably his contract negotiations at this point. I think he wants to do it. I think they want him to do it. Now it's just, can they come up with a number, probably.
Didn't he do the performance capture for the test footage also?
And the voice. Yeah.
Well, I heard they haven't announced it yet because he's still working on Green Lantern 2.
Woo!
No, I want to see him come back.
Yeah, he has to play
he's gotta.
Deadpool. He's born to do that.
He was born to do it, yeah, absolutely. All right, what's next?
Chris Marabella wants to know, because of the backlash of Paul Giamatti's Rhino character, do you think they might not use this character in the Sinister Six?
It was so bad.
Come on, Spider-Man!
I mean, and this is coming from a guy who liked Spider-Man 2 and who is a huge fan of Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Really
like
bad.
I really like that whole intro scene of the movie with the armor car chase. I thought this is a fun way to introduce this movie.
Yep.
Visually it was stunning, and as soon as Paul Giamatti started talking, I was like, what? Yeah. And then, was it really necessary to spend the $3 million extra to shoot that final end scene of fighting the Rhino now in the street? Awful. It's so bad. I think they have to be stepping back, if not reconsidering using Paul Giamatti as the Rhino, and if not reconsidering using the Rhino in general, at least stepping back and going, okay, we have to change how we handled this dude from the first one, because that was just terrible.
He's such a talent, though. It's not like a guy that you'd be like, hey, listen, here's the new no, and he's going to go, no, I'm doing it the way that I did it last time. He'll be like, okay, everyone hated it, let's change it, let's do something new.
Okay, John Adams.
Yeah, right. It's Paul Giamatti. So see, he's going to take the notes, and if they say to him, look, that was one of the biggest complaints by all the fans, and they seem to be listening now, obviously with all the changes. So give him some new notes, let him change. The fans will forgive it if he's not over the top, cartoony Batman and Robin style anymore. Let's turn him into a real character.
Well, that Paul Giamatti, those sequences with him wasn't even Batman and Robin. It was the Adam West Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think the tone of that movie is so all over the map. That's its ultimate failure. So.
But at least Spider-Man dropped his pants. That saved it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Rachel Cushing says, with the buzz around Boyhood and the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, him, her, and them, do you think there'll be more experimental films like them?
Look, if you pay attention, every year there are a lot of really cool experimental films come out. It's just that the general public doesn't usually give them a lot of attention. I mean, they're there. They are there. Like, we just got to open our eyes and be willing. They're on the websites you're reading. People are talking about these films. They don't get the attention that obviously the bigger blockbuster films get. Certainly not on this show. But trust me, they're there, and they get mentioned on this show, and they get mentioned on all the other sites. It's just that people don't. I often, this comes up down to this. I often get a little bit frustrated sometimes when I see some people going, why doesn't Hollywood do this, or why doesn't studios do this, or why? And I sit back and say, because they have, and you didn't support it.
Right.
I mean, trust me, those films are there. But what's great about Boyhood and Eleanor Rigby and stuff like that is hopefully these types of films that are getting more attention will get people to pay attention to the other ones that have come out before and are continue to come out and say, hey, this was a good experience of an art house film. Maybe I should check out another one. I mean, just watch AMC Independent, AMC Indie Spotlight every Wednesday on AMC Independent's YouTube channel to see all these great films are coming out. Anyway, what do you guys have to say?
I was just going to say, the question is more to directors who want to take the shots to them as well, because they see these movies, because Boyhood you're going to hear about come award season, and Eleanor Rigby, I thought for what they did with the two different films put together, it's really smart. It was something new and fresh, and I think directors will say, and it's almost like what Tarantino did in '94 with Pulp Fiction. Nobody was doing storytelling like that in a mainstream way, the way he did. So to see people come out and do, new directors maybe get inspired by it, I think that's, you're right. A lot of times, I don't think you can ultimately point the finger at the audience for not supporting it, though, sometimes too, because the studio's not putting enough marketing for some people to see it. Because there's sometimes you put a movie out like that, and people haven't even heard of it in certain parts of the world. We hear about it here, obviously, in New York, but there are certain parts of the world they're like, what movie is that? how come I didn't hear about that? It's because the studios do need to push it more in marketing. Look at a movie like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Right.
That movie was not supported at all by the studio, and I think that never heard one person say a bad thing about that movie.
Yeah.
So you need to, and that was again a new movie the way Shane Black did stuff, and
But
so,
you seek films out. Like Richard Linklater has a name, so like I will blindly see any of his films because I love all of his films. Not all of them. There's a couple I don't like, but in general, he's a great filmmaker. He takes risks. He takes chances. That's the kind of filmmaker that I like. I mean, you can go see, if you're a Smith fan, go see Tusk. It's playing right now in theaters everywhere. Whether or not you like it or not, it takes chances. It's a loving homage to midnight movies. It's freaky and strange. Boyhood is not a regular film. It's not like an A, B, C plot line. It's different, it's experimental, but you should go see it and enjoy the experiment because it's a beautiful film.
All right, folks, without ado for us, we're all out of time today. Thanks so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all your theater, showtime, and of course your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click that thumbs up button and subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel right here. I want to thank, first of all, the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting to my immediate right, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you online?
At Christian Harloff on Twitter, and prepping for Jedi Council. Tweet me out all your Star Wars questions. Tweet me out. I love to talk to you guys about Star Wars. Tweet them all out.
And of course, sitting right beside him, the one and the only Mr. John Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you?
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at John Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. It's getting sweaty. Let's do it.
And of course, our gatekeeper today, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on all sorts of social media at Chrisley.
And of course, you can find me on the various social media channels just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.